Hey everyone, in this video I will cover all the different nodes in the main Atlas passive tree, meaning the one in the middle. I've been testing out every single node in tier 15 maps in Solar Self-Found, and here is my evaluation of the tree. Let's dive in. The main tree is divided into 3 parts, and there are 3 keystones as well. You may think therefore it's logically structured, but that's not really the case. The split of the main tree into 3 parts is primarily a visual distinction, but hardly a functional one. Focusing on one area won't necessarily get you synergies is all I'm saying, and you're better off picking nodes from all sides depending on your taste. We gotta start somewhere however, so let's start with the essence cluster. After testing, the cluster is decent and you spawn plenty of essences in maps, plus you get from time to time quite juicy essence monsters with several greater essences. Good for crafting in Solar Self-Found, and essence isn't all that difficult, especially compared to some of the other league mechanics out there. However, spending 5 to 7 out of a potential 30 points in your Atlas tree is a lot. I think crystalline growth and resonant lattice plus the smaller nodes around them are some of the worst in the tree. Close to these nodes, we find the precursor tablet cluster with precursor influence, which provides 30% quantity of tablets, and remnants of power for 20% chance of double effect of tablets, plus 5 small nodes for 8% effect each, making 40% increased tablet effect. This cluster has some merit in Solar Self-Found. First of all, the tablets are purely beneficiary effects. There are no downsides on tablets, so increasing those effects by 40% is significant. Doubling those effects is amazing. On top of that, the quantity nodes allow you to pick good tablets to slot into towers to maximize those effects. You have way more tablets than you unlock towers, so you have some choices there. It's not uncommon by allocating these Atlas passives to have tablets that provide 20% increased experience and 30% increased item rarity on like 9 different maps, or item quantity or additional chances that rare monsters gain an additional modifier, increasing their loot significantly. All of those things are possible and happen quite often, so these nodes are pretty good. The last cluster on this end of the tree increases pack size, which is always a good thing in maps. I'm just not sure it also increases the rare monsters. That's kind of hard to test, and besides, the tree has specific nodes for rares and magic monster packs already. Local knowledge is a bit of a weird one, but most of these effects are good. Gold is useful in mountains. Socket currency, especially early on, is useful in Solar Self-Found. Jewels are crazy good from forests. And basic currency from swamp and water maps is great as well. If you're already taking the tablet nodes, this is a no-brainer for 1 point. I wouldn't path here just for this node however. And if you're wondering how this works, you can see on the atlas in which biome you are, assuming you know what a mountain or a desert looks like. I think it's rather self-explanatory. Let's move to the bottom left, arguably the weakest part of the tree. 15% increased rare monsters from Rising Danger is okay, just like 25% magic monsters from Bountiful Bloodlines, but the nodes behind them increasing pack size or duplicating only a single rare monster, they are a lot weaker. 20% magic pack size may sound great, but that's just 1 or 2 extra magic monsters, because these pack sizes aren't that big to begin with. Tucked away even further, we find several Shrine and Strongbox nodes, and if this was Path of Exile 1, I would be all over these nodes, but it's not. Shrines are rare, only last 45 seconds, and a 50% increased duration makes them last a little over a minute. Which isn't bad, but it's really only worth it if you would have 4 to 5 shrines in your map so you can keep zooming. That is, however, simply not the case. You get 2 if you're lucky, and that's it. Strongboxes suffer from a similar issue, I feel. You get very few of them, and even with these nodes. But what's worse is that these strongboxes are now small timed events with waves of monsters, and they take ages to complete while offering very few rewards. You can craft on the strongboxes, that's true, but still, I feel it's just not worth it. In short, strongboxes are just bad at this stage of the game in this part of early access. You're better off just clearing maps and killing rares. Combine this with the location on the main tree behind already mediocre nodes, and you should really only go here if you sorely need the player power from shrines to finish maps and struggle with your build for some reason. But even then, I probably wouldn't go here. The last part is the most interesting part, because this is mostly juicing. By juicing, I mean adding a bunch of modifiers to maps and waystones to increase their loot exponentially. A few nodes here I feel are mandatory for any main tree and should be taken first, and those are Constant Crossroads for 20% increased waystones and Fortunate Path for 100% increased rarity of waystones. Finding rare waystones saves you a good bunch of crafting, and you should really only pass up on this node if you have enough materials to craft waystones yourself. The High Road is mandatory too, giving chances for higher tier waystones, which helps a ton with map sustain. Lucky Pillage is just a solid node. Item quantity and rarity is always good. Treasure Coves is a sleeper node, I think, because especially rare chests in this game at the moment of writing are dropping great items. The rarity on these rare chests seems off the charts, and I'm pretty confident they inherit the map modifiers in terms of quantity and rarity, so in high tier maps that are juiced, I've had tons of drops from these small little chests. I think you should try it out once at the very least. You're already likely at this part of the tree anyway, and it's a node with no downsides. That cannot be said for all of the other nodes that I'm about to discuss now, because Grueling Journey increases explicit modifiers by 2% for each modifier on your map. Assuming you run them fully crafted, that is 6 modifiers, so it's 12% increased effect from just this node. Going all the way to the top left, we have Enigmatic Intensification, which adds another 3% for each tower affecting a map. It's pretty common you have 2 or 3 towers affecting a map, so this is another 9%. Add to this the small nodes around Grueling Journey for another 9%, and we are now at 30% increased explicit map modifiers, meaning that minus 10 maximum resistances is now minus 13 maximum resistances. But it also means that 50% item rarity is now 65% increased item rarity. And we're not done, because looking at the keystones, we have Unstable Energies, which multiplies either all prefixes or suffixes by a 25% more multiplier. So 30% increased, 25% more. This is starting to add up. It picks either the prefixes or the suffixes, where prefixes are beneficial to you, meaning more loot generally speaking, and suffixes are detrimental, but the suffixes also increase the waystone drop rates. So this means a 25% more waystone drop rate multiplier. And you notice this stuff, trust me. We have 2 more keystones left, and both synergize with explicit map modifiers because Deadly Evolution gives additional modifiers to rares and uniques, which makes them drop more loot, and because of all the other map modifier increases, including those that increase the number of rare monsters in maps, you could easily have 15 plus rare monsters in the map, so this gets out of hand rather quickly. And then finally, Corrupted Infusion, which is quite niche, but also quite powerful. You can corrupt waystones for all sorts of interesting results. They gain or lose a tier. Sometimes you remove all prefixes or suffixes. Sometimes you get 8 modifiers instead of 6. It's pretty wild. This keystone doubles down on that effect and corrupts the maps once more before you enter them. This can clearly be very problematic because it could roll Burning Ground on the map and then you're screwed with your energy shield build. And it's niche because I'm playing hard tier maps in solo self-found, but I don't have that many Val orbs at all, so corrupting maps isn't something I'm doing all the time. Should you have a bunch of corrupted maps though, I think it warrants a small respec of the tree to get these double benefits. And finally, let me share with you my Juicing Atlas passive main tree, which hopefully makes sense after this explanation. I'm aiming for map sustain and as much map explicit modifier effect as possible. It makes for incredibly juicy maps. It makes it possible to sustain high tier maps, but clearly you need a pretty decent build to run it. That extra quantity and rarity you get, however, is super noticeable. I've been getting so many uniques, quite a few greater jewelers orbs and tons of rare crafting currency, so try it out, I will link it in the description. I think you'll like it, assuming again you can deal with the monsters in the map. I hope you had a good time watching this video, let me know what you think. Also let me know if you have any suggestions. Subscribe and like for more PoE SSF content. Thanks for watching and making it to the end. Love you all, see you soon, bye bye.